Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. I am your host, MotZ. I have with me my co-host, JenTmaxi. Say hello, Jennifer.
Hello.
And TerrySalt. Say hello, Terry.
Hey, everyone.
Well, you know, looking through Twitter and looking through all the news on all the websites, there were so many things that I could have picked out to go after this week, but I got to admit that Afghanistan has pretty much taken over everything, Twitter, websites, everything, and how bad of a job was done there. So the two things that we'll be talking about tonight is Afghanistan and our pullout game. Ladies, you don't have to laugh. It wasn't very funny. And then finally, the racist that is Roslyn Talsan, which I believe is how you pronounce her name. T-A-L-U, Talsan? I'm not sure.
You spelled it wrong in the stream title.
That would be consistent. If it's spelled wrong, then I obviously was involved. So we'll probably start with that because that's the shorter of the two. And we've seen this kind of behavior before on Twitter with people who are on the progressive left. Well, they'll say something like "kill all men," and then they'll get gang destroyed. I won't use the term I was going to think of using, but everyone will basically pile on for them being such idiots. And of course, the progressive playbook is say something really stupid, get gang tackled, claim victimhood, call everyone else names, then protect your tweets. And this process was followed perfectly by this Roslyn Talsan. She initially called out a woman for making a dumpling recipe.
How
the woman,
dare she?
the way I know.
Noodles. Don't you dare make the noodles without this lady's permission.
Right? And apparently this woman is white.
Even though she looks Hispanic.
Yeah, even though she does have some Hispanic facial features, she is a white person who was born in and grew up in Japan and now lives in the U.S. But because she is white, she is not allowed to tell anybody how to make Asian food.
You know, and the amazing thing about that is not a single point in her life in Japan did anyone ever say that to her. I don't think so.
They did. It just was in Japanese and she didn't understand it.
It's
it's
good.
Well, no, it's yet again some liberal from North America who's like, oh well, I self-identify as you because I look the same. I mean, I've never lived there, and at best I have stories from my grandparents, but I'm going to tell you what you can and can't do based off of a culture that I've never experienced myself. It's like me claiming to be Scotland. I've never had haggis, thank God, for small things. I've never worn a kilt, but I do actually have like Scottish flags. Like I do in fact have a Scots scarf because my ancestry is from there. But you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to go to Scotland, walk around and act like I know where I am. You know? Like it's really it's really ignorant. And this has happened before. Like we had this happen like a couple of years ago with the lady who wore the Chinese dress.
Right. I remember that. Yep.
You know, and China was like, she looks fantastic. We love this girl for sharing our culture. Japan's not too different. You know, when you wear their clothing and you try to do it with respect, and that's the thing. If you're doing it with respect, they honor that because they don't sell it to anybody else.
Well, honor is a big part of their culture anyway.
It is. It's just a matter of respect. Like if I'm doing something that I realize is not really my culture, if I'm doing it with respect and care, it's called appreciation, not appropriation.
Right.
And I'm really tired of these. I'm sorry. I'm a food person. I know you guys probably are food people to your own degree, but like
I've been known to eat food.
You know. But, well, the thing is the minute people tell me what I can and can't eat, I tell them to eat shit.
Yeah. See, that follows with me when it comes to vaccinations. The more they tell me to get it, the more I'm not going to get it.
I mean, I don't even think you need to do it respectfully. Like, if you run around with a sombrero and maracas in a bad Mexican accent, I mean, Mexicans might not like it, but I don't care if you do it. Knock yourself out.
Well, there was a guy, I think it was TPUSA. I'm not sure
Hmm.
what it was, but there was a guy who did that. He put on a sombrero, he put on a fake mustache, and he talked with a Mexican accent. And he went to his school and he says, "Do you think this is bad what I'm doing?" And everybody in that school said he was bad guy. And then he went to a Mexican neighborhood in the same unit. He's got in his car and drove over there. And they're all like, "Goo, you look great." Blah, 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 blah. They all loved him.
Because they have a sense of humor. Like, I'm really, these people think that nobody on the planet outside of them has a sense of humor. I hate to break it to you, but people think it's funny. They do. It's as long as it's not in bad faith. Like, that's the difference. Like, people can tell when somebody's being an asshole, when somebody's just trying to take the piss out of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's I actually saw a really good YouTube video about this ages and ages and ages ago.
Mhm.
And the guy was like doing the whole like stereotypical Mexican thing, and then the guy's like, "You really shouldn't do that. That's very insensitive." And he's like, "Why? I'm dressed up as," and like they'd say the name of some Mexican performer. He was a big influence on my life. He goes, "Yeah, but the sombrero and the poncho and all that, don't you think it's a bit over the top? This is a picture of him. I'm emulating my idol. What's wrong with you?" And the moral of the story is you can be as racist as you like as long as you're specific.
I guess. I don't know. I just seem silly that maybe because she's Asian, I'm only guessing by the surname Talsan. Talsan. Maybe because she's Asian, she's trying to be protective of her culture. I'm trying to
I think
an olive
she's
leaf branch here, but
I think she's taking it to the point where she's no longer protecting so much as she's gatekeeping. There's a certain point where you're no longer really protecting your culture from people who are making fun of it or maybe trashing it. What she's doing is she's saying that, you know what, you don't look like me, and therefore you're not allowed to experience what I experience on a daily basis. But here she is living in North America on everybody else's culture. Because I guarantee you she's had spaghetti. I guarantee you she's had tacos. I guarantee you she's had crepes. I guarantee you she's had potatoes, which I'm sorry, they didn't grow potatoes in China.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, things like spaghetti. Well, spaghetti was invented in China. It's not even Italian. The Italians culturally appropriated Japanese culture or Chinese culture.
But at this point, you can't claim they're the same thing. Like, no. I'll admit that they went to China and they came back with these noodles because they loved them. They loved them so much that they carried them on till this day.
Right. They incorporated them in their own culture.
And then they changed them. They expanded upon them. And that's the thing that this woman doesn't understand. That's what's so offensive about what she's doing, is she's preventing people. She's preventing them from expanding upon it. And I don't know if it's this sense of jealousy or maybe it's just because, when you make something in North America, the chances of it being as authentic as it would be back home in whatever country you're from, that's not really going to happen because we don't always have all the ingredients. But by bringing those foods to North America and introducing them to other Americans buying them means that product comes here. That supports the country that it's coming from. It supports the people who are growing it. And it supports the people who already live in North America who might be from that culture. It's like I remember stories about Italians coming to North America and they didn't have any of the ingredients that they were used to. They had to make do. So you have entirely new food groups in North America that are Italian. They're not really Italian, but that's what they had. Right. And by bringing that here, you now actually have Italian products. You can go anywhere and find an Italian store and get Italian products that are from Italy. So what she is doing is she's saying, I don't give a shit about the people living back home. She's saying, I don't want you touching my stuff because you don't look like me. And she's also ignoring other people's lived experiences because she didn't give a shit about the fact that this lady had spent 15 years in another country learning about it. She didn't do that. She's jealous because this lady had the opportunity to do that, and she's using her face and her orientation as the excuse. I'm sorry, she's a racist.
That's what it
The
comes right
thing
down
is,
to.
unless she's from England, she's appropriating culture just by writing in that language.
Absolutely, she is. You know, and it's like I said, it's taking a discredit from people who spent their entire lives creating food for us to enjoy. And I can go back to potatoes. The first potato came from South America, so you know, southern America. It was poisonous. They brought it back to France, and they made 20 new ones. We wouldn't have that if we hadn't had that exchange. And these people want to ignore that history. Was some of it bad? Yes, but it brought a lot of good things too.
In fairness, they were probably just trying to poison the French.
Probably.
Everyone is. So
yeah,
Roslyn doubled down, and after doing that, she of course limited her account so that only people who she followed would be allowed to reply to her. And then she deleted the original tweet. That happened today. But she put on a new tweet. White women are a plague. That's the latest tweet.
Oh boy.
Of course we are.
So people who are able to or I guess she's been on the prowl banning people as well as limiting her stuff.
It always makes me wonder what leads a person to that. Like, was she just turned down a lot by Asian dudes who were just had a preference for white women? Because that's a thing now. That wasn't a thing when I was growing up. It's not that I didn't look at the Asian boys. It's just the Asian boys weren't looking. So, you know,
this is the
all of a sudden,
this is the progressive playbook. That's what this is.
It really is, because you know now all of a sudden the Asian guys are like, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing if I want to date a white woman or get married to a white woman. Yeah. It was kind of taboo because it's a thing. You know, you take a white woman home to meet the Asian parents, there's a good chance they're going to be like, hell no.
She's just
100% of the time.
She's just virtue signaling to the other progressives. Look how progressive I am. I hate white people. That's so progressive.
Of course she does.
You know,
she's
I'm
so
sure
progressive.
ACAB is in there and vegan is in there. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of stuff that just follows the progressive playbook all the way down the line. I didn't bother looking at her profile. This lady's sick. That guy who went after that, it was a black guy who went after a Chinese guy with a hatchet. I guess you saw that video out on Twitter. Yes, no?
I did not, but that's scary.
Yeah, a black, because all of the Asian crime that they're complaining about has been mostly black guys attacking Asian people, and it was an Asian person in a white shirt, just sitting in front of an ATM, you know, doing his banking work. This guy comes in with a hatchet and just starts attacking him. Just starts swinging, goes after his legs first. And they tussle for a while, and the guy finally gets away. And I was like, you know, if you really want to handle that axe, you know, Roslyn's over there. That's the person. You want to go after the racist. You don't want to go after the guy who's just sitting in front of an ATM.
Who's minding his own business, not doing anything to you.
He's doing nothing. And it seems like every time there's an attack on an Asian person, they weren't doing anything. They're just chilling.
It bothers me when it does bother me to see that. You know, I'm not mad at the black community. I mean, I could be. I wish that they'd stop pointing fingers at the wrong people and actually get people help. I mean, if the dude's running around with a hatchet, he should probably not be on the streets.
I was listening to Philly D today, and he was mentioning how he thinks that the whole idea of people who have mental issues we need to have, like, I can't remember exactly how he put it, but he was along the same lines that I am, is that we need hospitals specifically designed for people like this. So when
that sounds awfully ableist of him.
I'm no fan, but he did make a valid point, and he's been pretty tough on Biden as far as what's been going on with his presidency. So he's not as a lunatic now that Trump's not in charge.
Well, he's also a lot of support from his center people.
Oh yeah, he's lost almost all the people who were giving him a break. You know, because he just went lunatic. I mean, he's repeatedly said in tweets, "I don't care that I'm losing all of these people." Okay, well,
Good
we'll
for you
continue.
then.
We'll continue losing them then. You know, if that's what you really want. But if you look at his blade score, what's it called? What's this? Social
Blade?
Social blade. Yeah. If you look at his social blade, it's just minus this, minus that, minus this, minus that, minus this. And he's just losing people. But regardless, his point is that people who are having mental issues aren't being addressed.
No.
And ever since we got rid of hospitals designed specifically to take care of these kind of people, all these homeless peoples, a majority of them have mental issues. That's why they're homeless. We can solve two problems at one time. We can lower crime, and we can get homeless people into places where they're safe just by addressing mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long issue for a while. And it's not just you guys. We have it too. And it's actually kind of weird. So like, this is a little bit off topic, but I started doing this little research on a costume that I might do for Halloween based off of the original Curse, the Wendigo, the real one. And it's based off of cannibalism. And the psychology of it really kind of got to me when I looked at it, because it's kind of like self-isolation to the point where you go crazy and you start eating people, because everywhere you look, there's a monster and it eats you. So you eat them. And it just kind of feels like that. Like it's like this psychosis that's going on in North America, where people are so stressed, and to a point, like there's this immediate feeling of needing to defend yourself at all times, because it's scary right now. I mean, where I am, it's probably not as scary as some places, but like, yeah, I don't know. People have lost their minds. If I were to go into a store without a mask, you know, like there's that fear of somebody tackling me because they've lost their minds, as opposed to just like addressing me like a regular human being. We've lost the 5 steps beforehand.
Do you have the same problem with Asian hate in Australia, Terry?
Well, there's a lot more Asians here than there are in America. Like, if I remember my school days, like Asians were like maybe a third of the kids there. So it's not like they're 1.2% or whatever it is that you've got in the States. They're like considerably better represented in the population down here. But I mean, my dad, he made no secret of the fact that he hated Asians. My grandfather on my mum's side, he was in the war. Japanese people shot at him. I kind of get why he didn't like them. But I mean, at school, there was never much targeting of Asian kids besides making fun of their eyes. You know, like little kiddie, silly stuff.
They make fun of their own eyes.
If it wasn't, you know, making fun of their eyes, they would have found something else to pick on. It was not, ha ha, you're Asian. It's just, ha ha, you look different from me.
Which could happen to any, that can happen to any kid.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, if it wasn't the eyes, it'd be the nose or the ears or something. They would have found something to make fun of the kid for.
The thing is, Asians make fun of their own eyes. I watch MX Art Plays. It's a YouTube channel. And there's Henry and Jeannie are the hosts. And they're both Asian.
She's so cute.
She's adorable. I love her. Panda Queen. Panda Jeannie. Yeah, but they make fun of their own eyes. And I guess, you know, is it really a slur to make fun of somebody's features when they also do it?
Well,
I mean, people make fun of me for being a blonde all the time.
But it depends. It depends on the way that it's done. Like, if you're making fun of someone in a friendly way, that's different than if you're saying, you know, a fucking slanty-eyed idiot.
Easy,
like, that's totally different.
Yeah.
Like, if you're just saying, to your friend, hey, are you sure you can see that? Maybe you want to open your eyes a bit more. Like that's just teasing a friend. If you're going up to an Asian person you don't know and saying, "Look here, you slanty-eyed piece of shit, I want you gone," that's a whole different thing. I mean,
I had
tone and
a
context is everything.
You got me blushing, Terry.
I had an encounter with a friend in high school for that. So I wasn't there. She told me about it after the fact, but she'd just been going down the hallway, and this guy was, they just bumped into each other, and he was just like, "Fuck off, chink." And she came back like confused, like, why would this guy say that to me? And I was like, listen, I don't live in a country where we put up with that. And my brother is a member of the rugby team. And there's at least nine players on there who would love to beat the shit out of somebody for saying something like that. And she was the better person and wouldn't let me do that. But yeah, sorry if I ever heard somebody say something like that. And I have called out kids before because they were making racial slurs about an Asian person. And I called them out. I told their parents in front of them, like, so are you supportive of your kid calling a Filipino a chink? And their kids got a spanking right there and then.
Yeah.
Well,
my dad was
not that I appreciate a spanking, but
my dad was in World War II in Korea, and he had his chance to shoot at Germans and Japanese and all kinds of issues like that. So I don't know how he was when he was younger, but he came back a raging bigot, a raging racist when he came back. And I had to grow up I had to grow up in that atmosphere, so.
But like that's the same with my grandfather. It makes sense. If you've been literally at war with an entire group of people, you aren't going to think highly of them.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen the worst of the worst from them, just like they've probably seen the worst of the worst from some of your guys. So yeah, you're going to go away with.
I mean, they literally have an army trying to kill you. I mean, you're allowed to bear them a little bit of resentment, I think.
Yeah.
It still makes me smile a little bit to know that the Germans still have nightmares from the Canadians because we just kept coming. They couldn't get us to stop.
Well, I think how many Allied forces died in World War II? I mean, not nearly as much as Russian, but it was like, I don't remember the exact number, but it was like, wasn't it like 250,000 Russians? Like 50,000 Allied and then 250,000 Russians? You think about how big of a deal World War II was with us. You look at it from the Russian perspective, it's like, oh my God.
Well, for us, our population size, that decimated us quite a bit. When you really think about it. And I don't know about Australia because you guys have you're a different situation in Australia. Like I don't know your population.
I'm just going to be that guy. Decimated means to reduce by 10%.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, because they just threw us
exactly
in.
10%. Exactly 10%. Not like people use it to mean completely wiped out. It actually means 90% is still there.
Yeah, they did some hard damage to us. I mean, I don't know how much they did with you guys, but they threw you guys in too.
Well, the deal is that Canada and Australia have a similarity, a commonality there, that you both have a very large landmass with a significantly less populated area.
And some of us left because we get kicked out, and some of us left because we wanted to, and that's the truth of the matter.
Like for Canada,
right,
there isn't a huge population north. For Australia, there isn't a huge population in the center, and
there's no one in the middle.
Yeah, there's no one in the middle, and that's kind of true of America too. Not so much north and south, but east and west. I mean, they call them the flyover states for a reason. The population is low in the center, but if you just take the land mass and you populate and you look at our population, we're fairly well populated by comparison to Canada or Australia.
That's not quite what I meant, though. When I said some of us went because we were sent there, and some of us went because we wanted to. That's me telling you that my parents are like my ancestors might have miscounted sheep. So some of them got sent to Australia because I actually have half of a family in Australia.
Really?
Yeah, because they were miscounting sheep, and then the other side of my family went to Canada because we were like, Scotland kind of sucks. I mean, no shade to Scotland. It's just at the time, it kind of sucked.
Oh no, full straight to Scotland. I'll say it.
Yeah, potato famine. They were like, oh, you can starve on potatoes, and my family was like, you know what? I will take my chances with the natives.
I mean, I like Dankula and tailed feature, but the rest of them.
Dankula and tailed feature.
They're
I
two
like
good
them.
Scotsmen.
They're good.
Two
They're
good
good.
Scotsmen.
There's another guy in Scotland.
Scotty? Scotsman?
This
Oh,
Scottish
opinionated Scotsman.
opinionated Scotsman. That's the guy.
Mhm.
Because I can understand Tail just fine. He customizes his speech so that Americans can understand him better. Dankula doesn't do it so much, but I can still understand him. But this other guy, I have no clue what he's saying.
He's worked really hard over the last year to work on that.
Yeah.
He's gotten a lot better. Like I hang out with him from time to time in Pete Almond's server,
Mhm.
and that's basically what he does. He just sits there and talks with people so he can get better on the language. His fear at the moment though is Cryptic, because Cryptic is really obsessed with talking about his booty, and believe me when I tell you, it's the most horrifyingly funny thing I've ever watched.
I enjoy listening to people with accents. It's always been a fascination for me. And neither one of you.
Scotland did have a famine, Spud Bud. I hate to break it to you. Look it up. Everyone in Europe did.
To me, both of you only have a slight accent. But I like listening to Tail feature. There's a person in Ireland, Diane Jennings, YouTube channel, who's Irish. My father is half Irish, half Welsh, so I watch her on a regular basis too. But I've always had a fascination with accents, so that's the only reason I know about people from other areas. And that's probably one of the reasons why I know so many people who are in Canada and who are especially in Australia, even more in Australia. Because, we all know Blind Press, we all know Delahazed, we all know all the people who are in Canada, because a lot of them are in Minions, if not in the Minions, then in the Minions area. But the same thing is true for Australia. There's a lot of people in Australia who we all know about who are either in Minions or adjacent to. And that's one of the things I like best about the Minions, is that it's about as culturally diverse as you can get. In a group this size.
One of these days, Hammer, I have to introduce you to my unicorn from Quebec. I call him Magic, but his online name is Caligula. But he is the only conservative I've ever met from Quebec, and he is fantastic. And he sounds like Jean Chrétien. So if you want to talk accents, he sounds like Jean Chrétien.
It's a French accent.
Absolutely does, yes.
But Hey Camel in chat says Goodfella is another one that he has a thick accent that you can't really understand. And
never heard of him.
I agree. I've heard him talk, and he is quite difficult to understand. Until you have to listen to watch his videos enough that you start it'll click in your head, and you'll start to understand him a bit better. But the first time you hear it, it's like, what are you talking about? What did you say? Rewind, listen closer. Oh, I know. So yeah, it's very, very hard to understand that guy.
The person I know of that has the most accent in Australia would probably be Far. She has a pretty strong Australian accent. I don't know if that's because of Perth or what, but her accent is pretty strong.
I think Cynic has a decently strong accent. Pete has a bit more of one than I do.
Oh yeah, Pete has an accent. Yeah, he's more than you. That's true.
I don't know. I think maybe because I grew up in such a multicultural area that I never got the Aussie Ocker sort of accent. I just sort of never developed it. But yeah, I like the sort of the accent that comes with the one that people commonly associate with the Aussie accent, that really sort of Ocker blokey kind of voice. I like it.
The Crocodile Dundee accent
Yes,
is what
exactly,
the Americans would think of. Oh, that's not a knife.
Yes.
That's a knife.
I thought they were talking about bogeys, to be honest. And I only know about bogeys because of 3 of you guys, and I still get confused about it.
What's a bogey? I have no idea. That's an
A
enemy.
bogan?
A bogan. Oh, okay. You said bogey. The first thing I thought of was, well, if I'm in an
I've heard
F-18
it,
and he's
I've
flying in
heard-
front of me and I'm trying to lock onto him, he's a bogey, you know?
No,
I've
see,
heard-
I went straight to golf. That's what I thought you was talking about.
Oh, right. Right. You missed the shot. You're 1 over par. That's a bogey. A bogan.
Uh,
Is that a certain area in Australia? A bogan? Is that?
No, it's like our term for white trash. What you would think of
Oh,
as like
jeez.
white trash.
Okay.
That we would say bogan, the sort of not very well off, sort of the poor areas, sort of very what people more pretentious than I would refer to as uncultured or uncivilized. Like
We've got those
you know what
too.
I'm trying to get at.
Yep. Yeah, we got those too. We got the ghetto.
Hillbillies.
We got a ghetto.
So I
But,
must have some kind of accent to you two, right?
You do.
just sound like an American to me.
It's just like I was
Generic.
listening to Unholy Reaper because he's now working in Texas making guns, and I got one of his coworkers confused because he was from Tennessee and I thought he was Texan, and I was like, Reaper's like, oh, I'm sorry, you guys can hear them. I'm like, I don't mind. I'm listening to some pretty nice accents right now. But
I think it's the use of the letter R in our language that's the accent that's easy to pick out as being American. Because if you talk with like an AH instead of an R, you sound more European, Australian. We say bother, where someone from the UK would say bother.
Bother.
It's more like an AH than it is. For us, it would be like an AH as opposed to an R.
It depends on who I'm around too, because like you guys in the US, I'm surrounded by a lot of people from different countries. My neighbor growing up was from England, so she was from the north of England, and her husband was from the south of England. So they both had completely different accents, but I could understand them both. And then I met this lady from northern England, and I swear to God, I thought she was from Scotland. She kept having to correct me because I kept getting that confusion, and she was like, "Don't worry about it. Everybody does it because that's just kind of how we are." And then you talk to like irate Alex, or you hear somebody like Kraut talk, and you're just like, I don't know who I'm talking to anymore.
Hey, Camel in chat wants me to say crikey. So there you go, crikey. I don't know if you wanted me to do it in like the stereotypical Aussie accent, sort of like the crikey. But
How about that,
there you go.
Costin?
Have fun with that.
How's about that, Costin? That's about as good as I do, honestly. It like I said, it depends on who I'm hanging out with.
You just have to say a boot or a
boot.
Yeah,
boot.
those are the
A
things that
booty.
the Americans will say. Oh, they're Canadian. They said a boot instead of about. But it's a lot different, I guess, when you're from the region as opposed to when you're not, because I notice the accents in America as distinctly as I understand the accents of other countries. So when I'm talking and I'm talking to somebody from New York, they talk like this. This is normal for the way they talk. You guys will still say that's American.
Yeah.
Or I talk, for someone down south going to grab down the corner and grab me something to eat because I'm a hungry man. That's also American. But to me, that's Louisiana.
See,
And you have the guy out in California, yo, dude, where are we going for lunch? Because the waves are so rocking, dude. That's the California accents.
I can differentiate like a Southern accent from a New York accent. They sound different. Like I wouldn't. It's kind of like Europe, where like there's differences between the accents, but I'm not going to say that's a Liverpool accent. I'm just going to say that's an English accent.
Right.
And it's the same way that even though I can detect that there's multiple accents within the United States, I'm just going to class them all as American accents. I'm not going to try and be more specific about it.
I'm giggling because if you want to know how you know you're talking to a man from Alberta, he sounds like Kermit, which is how you know Jordan
Kermit?
Peterson's from my province.
Kermit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I hosted a WEDS meeting because I wanted to give the guy who was the speaker was the original leader, and I wanted to give him a fair shake and hear what he was going to say. And yeah, I had about 53 people in this channel on this chat, and I hate to break it to you, Scribe. It is possible to have more than 6 people on and only have 2 people talking. You just have to have a whole room of Canadians.
Yeah.
And yeah, half of them sounded like Kermit the Frog. And the more they talked, the more depressed I got because I was like, I thought that was just.
You're right. If you listen to Jordan Peterson, I'm just playing some of his videos in my head. He does have a bit of a certain amount of, he got his voice up close into his throat.
When he does it on purpose, it's smack on,
No, but have you watched the YouTube channel Freedom Tunes?
I think so.
Every time he does a Jordan Peterson video, there's always a Kermit reference every single time.
Yeah. That's not to say we all sound like that, because we don't. Like even in our province, we have different accents. Like if you go further north of Alberta, there's more of a hick sounding accent. They sound a little bit more similar to Americans in that sense. There's a little bit more yokel to it. If you go to southern Alberta, well, the thing is we're the international city. Calgary's kind of international, so the chances that I have a specific accent is kind of, I sound like whoever I'm talking to. I had this girl who was convinced I was from England. Even I was like, no, I've been here my entire life. And I didn't mean to. It's just one of my coworkers had an accent, so every time I worked with her, I had to walk away for a few minutes so I'd stop talking like her.
I pick up other people's accents pretty well myself. If I'm in the South, like I spent about 2-3 weeks in Austin, Texas, and by the time I came out, I was definitely Ian and Han like everybody else. I just couldn't maintain. And I think that's part of that is because this is not my normal accent. The one you hear now, I was trained out of my normal accent into this, and now I can't maintain my accent when I'm subjected to somebody else. I just immediately pick it up like a sponge.
Yeah, and you can't just drop it either. It's not meant to be offensive. It's just my brain picks up a tick, and quite often I like the accent. Like I'll make jokes about Uganda knuckles, but I actually like the Uganda accent. That's why I liked it so much. I like accents too.
Yeah, it's a favorite thing of mine. Why don't we touch a little bit on the American pullout game?
That was so sad. Yeah.
The only thing I know about it is everyone's been making wet ass pussy jokes about the pullout game being weak. That is my entire knowledge of the situation.
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong. My understanding is it's not like you guys weren't planning to do that in the first place, because you were. But my other understanding is that you had a plan and you were going to try to make sure that they were trained up first and they were set up, like that they could handle it first, and then you were going to slowly withdraw. I understand that he wanted to make a photo op. I just think that I think he should have thought further ahead. Even if you guys spent like another 2 months and given them more of a heads up, like a legit real notice, it's like they didn't even give them a renter's notice.
It doesn't seem like it was that hard to do. You just contact all of the people who are in the country who are non-military, American citizens or whatever, working for America, and just tell them, everybody leave. And leave the military personnel in place. Get all the civilians out. And then once the civilians are out, you just take your military and slowly go smaller and smaller and smaller and just back away from the areas they're in. And by the time you get to the capital, you have 3 guys in a helicopter, and it's a clean withdrawal. How hard is that to do? Is it really that hard?
I think he just, I think he's a senile old man
That would be true.
who's doing what his assistants are telling him to do. And I think that I don't think he has the cognitive ability to think things through. You know, like this isn't even the guy from 10 years ago who probably would have taken those steps. You know, even the guy working under Obama probably still would have taken those steps, but he's surrounded by so many virtue signaling retards that he can't take the time to actually think these things through.
Do you really
And
think that
I'm
Biden is the problem here? Because
no,
as a
I don't.
president, if I were president, I would say to the people on the ground there, the generals who are actually fighting,
Mhm.
I would say to them, okay, we're going to pull out. You guys take care of it.
Mhm.
And I made the decision that we're going to pull out, and the generals should know how to do this
Mhm.
properly. And they should be competent.
I would agree with you that he's not the only problem. I think the other problem is that the Democrats know that they have a problem and they're not dealing with it. Because like you just said, it's not like they don't have people who should know what they're supposed to be doing. I don't know. From your guys' end, I'd be concerned.
Mm. Well, Australia stayed, right? Did Canada stay?
We left.
You left. All right.
Mm-hmm. But we're taking in refugees. As far as I know, that's the plan. And
Yeah, we are too.
I'm not against, like I said, I'm not against helping people because I did see desperate need for help. Like I did see people fleeing who I feel for. I do. But at the same time, as far as I'm aware, and I can't back this up because I can't find that article anymore, we had guys who were involved in that shit. We had people trained in our military who are now running Ranchak in the Taliban, and they want to bring in a bunch of refugees. And I'm just sitting here like that. That is red flags everywhere. And I'm running under a government who doesn't really check anybody. And so I'm sitting here as an Alberta going, I hope they go to the places where they need to be, because they always end up going to Quebec and they always end up going to Ontario and the Maritimes. And I'm really sorry for you guys because you guys voted this in.
Well, not me.
Well, no, I mean, the guys in our chat didn't. The guys in our chat didn't. I know that nobody following here did. But we're going to get a bit because we always do. But we maybe get like 500. Out of the 2,300, we might get 500. So, yeah, we can deal with that. But when they get thousands of people who might be hidden bombs, and I feel for the people who are fleeing, because that's the thing. I don't mind, like I said, I don't mind helping people. Like the people who are clutching to those tires, they're never going to come back. And as much as people are laughing at their death, because yeah, I'm sorry, that's a dumb way to die.
I don't know if anybody is actually laughing. I think a lot of people are disheartened by it.
Well, I think it's just it's the way people deal with it when they see something warped like that. You know, I think that just horrified people because they were so desperate. I'm not heartless. I'm not so cold that I can't see that and not want to help them out. But at the same time, they really do have to start helping themselves out. They really do have to make the decision. Do I want to live like this forever under people who are willing to round us up and shoot us because we disagree with them?
Terry, are you really unaware of what's going on in Afghanistan?
All I know is the US pulled their troops out of Afghanistan, and yeah, that's literally it. I'm not that interested in like Middle East politics, so I was just like, it's a thing that happened, but it's not something that I looked into or really dug for details about. It's like, oh, okay, and then on to the next tweet.
Yeah.
At best, Terry, I think that your government is just as silly as mine. And even though they got, and even though you guys are on like the strictest of CUF laws ever, I bet you anything they're going to bring in refugees.
Of course.
And yet again, it's not because I don't want people to get help. It's just virtue signaling and backwards and yeah. I'm sorry. My face is making that stunned look, that meme of that guy who's just blinking like, what?
I don't. It was bad enough that
Hmm.
the withdrawal was bad. That
Hmm.
was bad enough, but now that we're supposedly out, that we're still sending troops in to get people out. We just send another two. We're going to send another 2,000 people to help people get out. I don't. We got out, and now we're going back in to get more people out. What the hell?
I made that joke last week. Like I said, when I was being a good friend and trying to cheer up people who felt rather betrayed by all this shit. And I was like, I bet you anything they're going to build a Team America. But my joke was that they were going to send in Kamala, but they were going to put a beard on her face because she'll blend right in.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to try to lighten it somehow.
Well, I mean, I guess at some point we will be completely out, and the Taliban will have complete control if they don't already, and that'll be that. The point I made on Twitter about this is probably the most devastating thing is what's going to happen not only just to the people who are translators or former soldiers for the alliance, but this is kind of a sad day for women in general in the area because they're going to lose all the progress and all the benefit of a Western culture. They're going to lose all of that, and they're going to go back to being less than second-class citizens, and that's a huge number of people.
All cultures are beautiful, Hammer.
Yeah, but they're going to lose their privileges, even if they're beautiful. They're still going to lose their privileges.
It's not just that. This is the second time they've gone through that, isn't it? You know, because I remember pictures of a lot of those like Iran back in like the 50s. You know, the early 60s.
Yeah,
And it's
very
like a
Western.
repeat.
Yeah, it was very Western civil, and that's got to be the most heartbreaking thing, really, if you think about it. Is here he is, got a little taste, we're taking it away. Here, we got it back for you. Here it is. What do you think? You like it? Yeah, we're taking it away again. You know, it's just, oh man, I can only imagine what it must be to be. Well, I cannot. I cannot imagine what it must be to be a woman in the area and having the ability to, you know, do all of these things and just have it yanked away. And
Well, at this point, if I was there, my only thought is there's nowhere really to go because you can't hide. You know, you can't run away.
But it's like South Park said: if you want a baby to cry, you can't just not give it a toy. You have to give it a toy and then take it away. Then the baby will cry.
right.
So, in order to fully distress the women in the area, they had to give them a taste of what they were missing. Otherwise, no, they don't know any better. They don't know what they're missing.
All the LGBT centers and all the women's shelters and all that kind of stuff, they're all going to be gone. That's, you know, it's a sad thing. There was a video I saw on YouTube of women at the airport who were separated from the U.S. soldiers, and they're like begging them to take them with them because they know what it's going to be like, you know, going back to the days of the Taliban all over again. And they're just begging, and the soldiers can't do anything. They just have to stand there and say, "We can't help you. Sorry." And it's got to be a terrible thing. And not one word from any American feminists so far that I've seen.
Except for the ones on the conservative side.
Yeah, you don't really see a lot of feminists on the conservative side. Not in the sense of, you know,
Not really.
typical bedroom feminist who's like hate all men and all that kind of stuff. They don't really exist.
Not really like that. I see them more as women who are like, I'm a strong woman at best, but I'm conservative.
Well, you'll see people like senators of our own ilk. You'll see people like Dana Lash and stuff like that who are in and of themselves just strong people in general who happen to be women. But you won't. I mean, you won't see, you know, the typical leftist feminist say a word. I haven't heard anything. I've been looking for it, going out and looking, you know. The only person who's even mentioned it to any length or any degree is Claudia, but I haven't heard anyone else.
And it's a shame. You know, these women were all about, oh, you know, me too. Hashtag me too. Where's that hashtag me too? Because
me too,
you do
but
know
not
what
them.
But not them. You know, and yeah, I can't dwell on it because I know it. But hey ladies, I don't necessarily pray for people, but I'll pray for you. Like, like I said, if there's any way to hide, if it's one of those times where like I admire the Kurdish women because you could load them up with guns and they can at least take out some of those assholes.
Yeah. What's the first thing the Taliban did when they started taking the country back? Is they got rid of all the guns. Because that's what you do. If you want to take over a country, you just take all the guns. That's where it all starts. And that's why...
And that's why you guys should never mess with that amendment.
Yeah, that's the reason why, really, that Australia is in the place that they are. And, it could really happen. If it hasn't already happened, it could happen with Canada, too. The only place I don't really ever see it happen is in the States. So it's too much.
Here's the plan, Terry. You need to work on your military emus, and I will work on our military moose, and together we will combine to the emo moose. Emu moose.
No way. The emus are the enemy.
See the moose in Canada are actually revered to some degree, but the emus in Australia are feared by the populace.
I find them adorable, though. I think there's this weird thing where you're, I don't know, maybe it's a white girl thing. I think it's a white girl thing.
It's hard for me to separate emus from ostriches. To me, they're close enough that I can only see ostriches in my mind when you talk about emus. They're basically the same body style. Emus are just smaller.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And not quite as feathery as ostriches, but they're basically the same two-legged, straight out of Star Wars.
It's one of those things where I watched a family hand raise one, and I guess they didn't realize that because they're kind of a pack animal, they tend to bond to you as like a family member when you hand raise them, and so they actually raised chickens and geese and things like that. And she went out onto this lawn to go feed her chickens, and this chicken goes to attack her. This emu comes out of nowhere like a raptor, shrieks like a raptor, jumps on the chicken like a raptor. I'm like, it's like a little dog. It's like a little attack bird dog. It was so cuddly. And then they got him. Then he got two girlfriends, and that was no longer an issue because I guess the girlfriends are the boys of the. They're yeah.
There's lots of animals that there's lots of animals that are similar enough that people don't really know the difference unless they specifically look it up, like alligators and crocodiles, or kangaroos and wallabies, or.
I kept getting the cassowary confused with the emus.
Dolphins and porpoises.
Yeah, exactly. See, there's lots of things like frogs and toads, like. Unless you specifically look up the difference, like, the crocodile's teeth are on the outside, the alligator's teeth are on the inside. Like, unless you specifically seek that information out, people just, whichever one they think of, they just put all the similar animals in that category. Like,
also
they're all crocodiles to me.
For the crocodiles and alligators, the snouts, one's shorter, one's blunted compared to the other, and the same thing is true with porpoises and dolphins. Dolphins have a long, thin snout, and porpoises with short snout. That's how I remembered them. I don't remember which one's which, but that's how I remember they're different from each other.
Yeah, it's like, if I saw an alligator, I would just think of it as a crocodile because there's not a lot of alligators, if any, down here, and there's lots of crocodiles up in Queensland. So crocodile is like what I think of when I think of, the long reptile.
I really like the thin-snouted ones for that reason, because they're the only ones that I can be like, yeah, that's a crocodile, because they got the thin snout. They don't know all that, though.
I wouldn't see either one because I catch a glance and I'd be running my ass off. No way am I getting near any one of them because they kill the same way. They both grab you and start spinning. And that's not a great way to die. I'd really rather almost anything else. Well, my only real problem is claustrophobia, and that's the only thing that would, if I had to pick between the two of them, I'd rather die by crocodile or alligator as opposed to being shut into a small place that I eventually die in. I would just lose my mind. Even talking about it, I start getting jittery. So it's a real phobia for me.
Yeah, I'm not.
What's that?
Yeah, I'm not too silly. Ooh, go ahead, Terry.
I said, obviously, I'm not claustrophobic.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
I'm a huge claustrophobic person.
Depends on the situation. If I'm afraid I can't get out and it's dark, then yes, because my brother used to trap me in my parents' basement. I'm not afraid of the dark. My parents' basement was my dad's room, which means it was covered in his dad's stuff, which like was everything that he used to make everything was down there. So in the dark, I was just like, I'm gonna run into everything.
It's weird for me with the claustrophobia. It's very strange. Like if how do I explain this? If there was a hole in the ground that had a bottom, and that bottom was 5 feet deep, and it was cylindrical, I would have no problems getting into that hole up to my arms. I'd be fine. But
Okay.
if it was deeper and my hands were pinned to the side, then I'd freak out. I have to have the ability to move my arms around. Even if I get stuck in like a tight t-shirt and I can't get my arm out of the t-shirt, I lose my crackers. I go nuts. I just have to be able to have my ability to use my hands.
I mean, I think there's an element of reasonableness to that. I mean, if you're in a hole and your arms are pinned to your side, how you get out is suddenly a very
Right.
important issue,
Right.
and that warrants concern. Like, I would be, how the fuck am I going to get out of here?
Right.
Not so much with the t-shirt, obviously, but if you're talking about being, stuck in a place that you can't escape from, I think that's not a phobia, that's a rational fear. I wouldn't want to be in that situation either.
I'm reading the chat. Costin says, when I was 4, I wanted to be an alligator when I grew up. That's awesome. That's awesome. Being a person interested in space, I always wanted to be an astronaut or a firefighter. Some of the typical boy things.
Yeah.
But that makes me laugh. I wanted to be an alligator. A lot of people
When I grow up, I want to be a fire truck.
A lot of people want to be. I don't understand it so much myself, but a lot of people are very interested in dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff. I never was as a young boy.
I love dinosaurs, but I wanted to be a dragon because of the yeah, I wanted to be a dragon.
You wanted to be Alex Straza.
My long-time dream was actually destroyed by me being colorblind, because like ever since I knew about casino games, it's like, how awesome would it be to be a blackjack dealer? And then I applied at the casino. Yeah, you're colorblind. We can't hire you. Like, oh shit.
Well, wait a minute now. Blackjack dealer just has to be able to tell black from red, and even if you're red colorblind, red shows up as gray, so you can tell black from gray.
Yeah, but the problem is the chips, the casino chips. You need to be able to tell at a glance what every chip is worth. You can't sit there looking at the actual number written on them. You need to go, oh, that particular arrangement is $50.
Right.
Yeah, and if they have like 2 different shades of red for different chips, that might be an issue too. So
So they gave me the test, and I like aced all the maths side of it, and they're probably thinking, oh yeah, we've got a pretty decent candidate here. Go on to the color test. It's like, yeah, you can't see shit. Get out.
So what is your color blindness? Is it what specific colors are you having a problem with?
Red and green.
Red and green, yes. It's the typical red-green. Have you ever tried those glasses they have for people who are colorblind?
It's not a big enough imposition in my life that I would take steps to remedy it. Like, I can still see green and I can still see red. It's more when the two are next to each other, the edges tend to blur together. So if there's like red writing on a green background, I can't read it unless the red writing is very, very large.
So Christmas must be shit for you.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, they usually aren't silly enough to put red writing on a green background. But it was a problem at university. They said they had like, do not forget, and then like some piece of information, and they had it red writing on a green background. And my friend said to me, "What does that say?" Like, what does what say?
Yeah.
And like I literally did not know that there was writing on the slide, because like it was a green slide and there was like white writing, and at the bottom is a red thing saying, do not forget such and such. And my friend is like, I can't read the bit at the bottom. What does it say? And so I told him, he's like, no, under that. And they're like, what are you talking about?
There's nothing there.
Yeah, but apparently there was.
That's wild. Yeah, my dad, it's funny, my dad was colorblind, but I'm not. Neither is my brother. Neither is my sister.
Well, that's good.
That's weird how it did not come to us.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big imposition in my life, but I mean, still better not to have it.
Right, of course.
Yeah, I'm so nearsighted that I'm like a microscope walking around without my glasses. So I feel you. They're like Coke bottles, even though they're thinner.
To this day, the worst thing that my colorblindness has ever done to me is in The Witcher 3, where you've got green grass and like a red blood trail that you've got to follow.
Oh God!
And I could not see shit. I had to use the rest mechanic to make it nighttime in the game, because then there was at least a little bit more contrast. It's like, okay, I can make out patches of red. I'll just try and follow them to the best of my ability. But in the daytime, the sun was lighting the grass and the blood, it's like, oh fuck, I don't know what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I think HOTS, the game I play all the time, Heroes of the Storm, I think it actually has settings for color blindness. I'm pretty sure that World of Warcraft does too. Yeah. Well, gang, it is 12:32 Eastern. So I think we should probably head out. Unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about.
Just a quick one. It's not even like a discussion topic, but Sean Locke, the English comedian, he actually died.
Oh, yeah.
I heard about that. That was sad.
I was like a big fan of the shows he was on, like QI and Would I Lie to You, and I never saw 8 out of 10 Cats, but he was on that too. Very, very funny guy, and yeah, just wanted to let people know that sadly he passed away. He was only 58 years old, so he was pretty young. Cancer.
Aww.
That's been kind of an ongoing thing. What was the guy from Black Panther died of cancer too, right? This year?
So did Alan Rickman.
Right, Alan Rickman. That's a damn shame with Alan Rickman. I was a big fan.
Didn't who else died that year? Prince died that year, and then
Prince
I
has
can't
been
remember
gone for a couple of years, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he died from cancer too, didn't he?
I don't remember.
There was another guy in on the year that Alan died, but I can't remember his name. I'd have to go back and look, and I feel bad. But yeah,
he was in 2 of my favorite movies. He was in Die Hard, and he was in Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest was awesome.
It was an awesome movie. It is
like,
really
I'm not even a Star Trek fan. And I still love Galaxy Quest.
Yeah,
that is how you know you've made a good spoof movie.
It was. There's a couple of lines in it that just make me laugh. I've seen it many, many times at this point, and there's a couple of lines in it that just make me laugh. I just can't help but giggle out loud when I watch them. I can say them, but I can't watch them without laughing. There's a point where they're in engineering, and they're about to go to an engineering, and they're in the hallway, and he's talking about the ship to the rest of the crew, and you see the guy who plays the engineer, the guy who used to be in the TV show Monk. I can't remember the actor's name.
Tony Shalhoub.
And he's talking, and you're focusing on what he's talking to and on the people. But if you watch in the background, Tony Shalhoub walks past him as he's talking, and he mumbles the words, "Oh, the floors are so clean." It makes me laugh every time.
One of my favorite things from that movie was the timer was set to stop at 1 second, because that's
no matter
what
what.
happened in the episode of the show that they were based on.
It always stops like that on the show. She even says it.
Yeah. Yes, Bud corrected me. I guess Prince died from drugs. Okay, I wasn't sure. Now I know there was a couple of deaths during that year, and I think a couple of them were cancer, but I couldn't remember with him. I'm not surprised, though. I really shouldn't be. That's still a shame.
All right, let's go ahead and get out of here.
All right.
Get the music started. I want to say thanks to chat for interacting with us as always. It's fun having you guys
Peace.
stop by and say hello. My thanks to Jen and Terry again for a wonderful show. And we're going to have a great night, everybody.
See you later, guys.
See you guys.